Alright, what is going on, guys? So I've been wanting to make this video for a couple of days now, and so two things that I just want to clear up real quick. So first thing being, this is a direct response to another YouTuber's video. His name is KT1, and a link to his video that this is in response to will be in the description below. And basically, he's saying that Quake is the best champion in the game, and it's his opinion, of course, and this video, again, is of course my opinion, and that's what makes this whole thing fun and this game fun, is that everyone can have different opinions, and this video is not meant to be as like an attack or anything. This is just all in good fun. I respect his opinion. Hopefully he respects my opinion, and it's just fun to talk about, really. I like talking about it. So that's the first thing I want to clear up. Second thing I want to clear up is that some people say that in a game such as this, there is no one best champion, because for every fight, for every set of nodes, there's good counters, bad counters, and there's typically a best counter for each matchup. But every matchup can be different, right? And while this is true, there still can be an overall best champion in the game, just the champion that covers the most ground, the most versatile, the best base kit. So yeah, that's kind of what I think about that, and I do think that that champion is Ghost. And I'm going to be breaking down why in this video, why I think Ghost is better than Quake, and just why Ghost is the best champion overall. Now, first, let's talk about what KT1 has to say about Quake and why I think Ghost is better overall than Quake. And there's really one main reason, but I'll get to that. So KT1 says three main arguments for why Quake is the best champion in the game. So his first argument is that Quake bypasses regular fighting mechanics, and this is absolutely true. Quake does that, and she does it very well. And yeah, like that's great, right? You know, you don't really have to worry about specials, you don't have to worry about parry, you don't have to worry about intercepting, you don't have to worry about all these stuff that in normal fights you do. And while that's true for Quake, it's also true for Ghost. Ghost also has her own unique fighting style, and while it's not as basic as Quake's, it's still really good and arguably better, because easily more damage output, which in and of itself is a form of utility. Just massive amount of damage in short periods of time. But what Ghost can do is also get around parry, intercept. You don't have to worry about that stuff. While she does have to worry about special attacks in a way, she can also phase through them, and phasing through them can actually be better than just not taking any specials, because let's say, for example, War Machine, you know, his L1's super annoying. You bait that out, you phase however many hits of that special one, and boom, your power just shoots up, boom, more damage. So, you know, it's good that the opponents have specials. And let's say there's some specials that you really don't want to have to worry about. There's ways to get around special 3s with Ghost. If you have the Hood synergy, you phase, don't have to worry about any damage. So, you know, while Quake can bypass regular fights, so can Ghost. So let's call that one a tie. His next argument is that Quake gets around a lot of nodes. And while this is absolutely true, she can get around a lot of nodes, so can Ghost, man. There's not too many nodes that Ghost cannot get around. The only thing really that I see that Quake has an advantage over Ghost is the size matters stuff, because Ghost is a small champion, so she's not very good in Variant 2. But every champion has their weaknesses, and there's stuff that Ghost can do that Quake cannot do. And a big one, okay, think about it like this. What is arguably the most important node in the game? That, like, it's recurring. Not any act content, not any variant content, recurring. And, you know, I'd argue, it's not definitive, I'd argue, though, the boss node in War, one of the most, well, no, 29 is pretty bad, but the boss node, let's bring up the boss nodes real quick. Oh, what's that? True Strike counter to Quake right there. Quake's biggest weakness. And of course Ghost has weaknesses too, but Ghost, man, is really good for fighting Alliance War bosses, Korgs, Dominoes, Havocs, Thing bosses, a lot of the big ones. So yeah, Ghost covers a lot of war bosses, while Quake can't really take any because of this True Strike. And any node that has True Strike, you can't use Quake. So again, let's call it a tie in that area for node-wise, even though I would, well, we'll talk about giving Ghost the slighter edge, but let's call it around even there. Now, his third argument is that pretty much once you get to the skill level of Quake, that every fight is the same. And while that can be true, is that even a good thing? Because if every fight is the same, honestly, this game would get super boring. If I just used Quake for every single fight and every fight felt the exact same, I'd get pretty bored pretty fast, first of all. And I don't know. And Ghost, well, every fight is not the same. Like I said, I'd rather it not be the same, and I don't really see that as a argument for why Quake would be the best champion personally, just because that I don't want a champion that, every fight's the same. I want a champion that I can learn all the fights, and once I have complete mastery of that champion, like Ghost, once I have a complete mastery of her fighting style, I'm good. I can counter whatever champion, whatever case, I'm ready for it, So we're talking about a mastery level of these champions for if they're being the best. So we have to assume it's a mastery of the champion if we're facing them off, which one's better. We have to assume that the person playing them is at the cap of max skill level, right? So this, I don't really see that being as a point for Quake or against Ghost. So yeah, really, I can argue Ghost for all these two, but I think they're about even. But now there's one big thing why I think Ghost is better, and it's so definitive that I don't see a way you can argue around it, and it's just why Ghost is the best champion in the game, because she has one of the best and most overpowered abilities in the game, man. It's so simple, but it's just so good. Now, what we've been seeing more and more is, this is especially why I think Ghost is so good nowadays, because what have we been seeing more in the game? We had Bleed and Poison. We've had it since I started playing the game. There's always been Bleed and Poison. There's the Bleed and Poison Suicide Masteries, which, side note, if you want to use Quake and you want some really good damage output with her, you use Suicides. And you'll see KT1 using Suicides as well. And Ghost, completely immune to Suicides. Not only does she get around the Bleed and Poison on her own, but with the synergy, she can completely phase recoil, where Quake has no immunities. And that's really what I'm getting at, is the immunities. But what have we been seeing more and more from Kabam? That's shock nodes, incinerate nodes. Pretty soon, maybe, actually, yeah, there is actually degen nodes coming in 6.2. There's a degen debuff. Kabam might confirm it's a debuff degen coming from a certain node. So yeah, we're just seeing more and more of these damage over time effects and more variety of them. Shock, incinerate, and that's why immunities are just becoming more and more important. And where Quake has 0 immunities, that's right, 0 immunities. And yes, she can counter some stuff because of her ability accuracy reduction and just not touching the opponent, such as Caustic Temper, Biohazard. Biohazard she counters perfectly, but Caustic Temper, without a Fury, her damage output is super lacking. And I guess it could be argued that you could get the Fury with Heimdall, but it's lacking. And Ghost, she can get around Caustic Temper, she can get around Biohazard. It actually just makes her hit even harder because Ghost has the most overpowered ability in the game, and this cannot be stressed enough. We're going to go over some of her other abilities, but the main one, man, alright, let me find it in her abilities here. So, yeah, right here. Phasing. While phasing, incoming attacks have a 100% chance to miss, and each damage over time debuff on Ghost converts to a Fury passive, increasing attack by 25.95 for 5 seconds. Dude, this is insane. Basically, what that means is any and every single damage over time debuff effect in the game, Ghost is essentially immune to as long as she can phase. And most fights she can, and it's really easy to phase throughout the fight to shrug off any debuffs, any and all debuffs that are damage over time. And that's just insane, man. Where Quake has 0 immunities, Ghost has essentially all of them if they're damage over time debuff effects. Bleed, Poison, Incinerate, Shock, Degen, doesn't matter. Ghost is essentially immune to it. And with more and more nodes becoming, let's go take a look in Act 6, man. 6.1, we had a full path of Shock right here. So drain 100% health over 30 seconds. This ability has 100% flat ability accuracy, so there's no way Quake could get around it. And also Spectre, so lingering astral Ancestral Curse reverses all the effects of healing abilities. So you cannot bring Quake on this path because your willpower will just be reversed. And, we could also just see Heal Block paired with this. And there's also Incinerates in another quest, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, you can't bring Quake for these nodes. These are nodes that Quake cannot get around, whereas Ghost can. And it doesn't matter if it's Bleed, Poison, Shock, Incinerate, Degen. Ghost can just straight up get around it, man. And that's just so good, man. It is so good. No other champion can do that. Emma Frost has probably the second best immunity skill set, but still, that's only in her diamond form. So whenever you're not in diamond form, you're not immune. Whereas Ghost, man, can just phase, and not only are you immune to the debuffs, but you turn it into a passive fury, which just adds so much attack. It's really insane, man. And that's just why I think you can't argue that Quake is better than Ghost, just because Ghost just covers so much ground and will continue to cover so much ground. And the fact that she can just phase through these debuffs, man, and you just don't have to worry about it. So that's really the thing that separates Ghost from Quake and Ghost from every other champion in the game for me. That's why I think she's, but just that one thing, man, it's so good, man. It is so good. And you have champions like Corvus that are immune to shock, immune to bleed, but he can be poisoned, he can be incinerated, he can be degened. Like there's just it's so much, man. It's so much in Ghost, and just having that one ability would make a champion really good. But not only does she have that, she has, like, when you talk about Corvus, he has some of the best burst damage potential in the game, guaranteed crits, right? Whereas Ghost also has guaranteed crits. But if you talk about Labyrinth of Legends, you don't see Corvus in Labyrinth of Legends because he's not sustainable for long damage output. Whereas Ghost, man, you see her in War doing just as good, if not better, than Corvus. And you see her doing these insane Labyrinth runs. Panman Pete does speed runs in Labyrinth. He and Cam did a comparison of Ghost versus Aegon, and they both were like around an hour, a little hour and a bit. Really insane stuff, man. Ghost, she's just good for short fights, medium fights, long fights. It doesn't matter. She's just so good. Such heavy damage output. And one of the arguments against Ghost is that she depends on synergies. And it's not true. She really doesn't need any synergies to be a good champion. Her base kit is just so stacked as it is. But with the synergy, it just adds so much. Take the hood synergy here, man. Ghost takes no damage while phasing. It's as simple as that. If you're phasing, you're not taking damage. Special 3s, recoil from the Suicide Masteries, like literally any type of damage, you don't take it when you're phasing. Dominoes damage, if you're phasing, you're not going to take it. Like, it's just so good. And then really the Wasp synergy, this is the one that people say is the most important one. You really don't need it. Instead of it really just makes fights more seamless and just easier. You can keep a good pace going, but without Wasp, I played Ghost unduped with no synergies for a long time, and I was fine without Wasp. You kind of learn a playstyle to get your special 2s off without Wasp, where you either intercept with it when you're not phasing, or you just bait a heavy attack with it and then drop your special 2. You can still do it without it. And Ant-Man, the only time I use Ant-Man is when I do Labyrinth fights for that synergy, so that's not needed. So really the whole synergy thing, it helps, it's not needed, but it is nice, and it just adds so much more utility to Ghost, which is crazy. And also just her awakened ability, man. Like, I thought she was good unduped. Oh my god, the awakened ability is so nuts. Basically every time you take a missed hit, if you're at Sig 200, you get 5% power. So it's so easy to get to your specials, and once you launch those specials, they do insane damage. And let's say in Alliance, where you can pair this up with the tech boost, you can just cycle those in Act 6. You can put on, like in War, you don't even want to use a max tech boost. There's 150% and 200%. You only want to use the 150 tech boost because it'll give you too much power if you use a 200% one. So if you have more health pool opponents like in Act 6, the 200% tech boost would come in handy. Cycle your L2s, that damage is just insane. And again, just her phasing mechanic is so good because, like we said with Quake, she bypasses regular fight mechanics, so does Ghost. You don't have to worry about parrying, you don't have to worry about intercepting. you can just phase Recept, I like to call it. So you phase, they attack, you can let them attack twice, so you get 10% power, and then retaliate. And something else is that Ghost can also counter so much stuff, similar to Quake. She can counter evade, she can also counter auto block, because if you have this Wasp synergy, her special 2 is unblockable, so you can get around MODOK, Iron Man Infinity War, Medusa, it doesn't matter, it's unblockable, it cannot be blocked, so it can't be auto blocked. And I could talk about Ghost for so much, but it's really just insane, and she can get around just so many of the nodes, especially a lot of them now having, like I said, with the whole immunity thing, and Ghost is just so good for those immunities. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much going to do it. Why I think Ghost is the best champion in the game. If there's anything you guys want to add, or if you think why another champion's better, go ahead, leave it down below. But I just don't think there can be a better champion, because Ghost just has overall the best kit, the best base kit in the game. She's just so much utility. It's really crazy to think that one champion just holds so much utility in one package. I just don't see an argument for how another champion can be over top. Just those immunity, the sheer immunity aspect alone, man, just is so much. And that's why I'm just so happy I ranked up Ghost, man. She's just making everything so easy when I use her. Like Alliance War in the offseason right now, I take full paths. I use maybe a potion. Last war I took full path 9 like 7 fights. Didn't even use a single potion. Just ghosted every single fight, man. It was easy. She just makes stuff easy. She's just so good. And yeah, that's why I think she's the best champion in the game. So if you guys enjoyed this video, drop a like. Again, if you have any arguments, counter me, go ahead, leave them down below. Let's try to keep it civil though. And again, no hate against KT1, man. All love for that guy. He makes some great videos. Very skilled player. And yeah, I just hope you appreciate my perspective. Let me know what you think, man. I hope you watch it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you did enjoy, subscribe. Peace out.